and then on Saturdays it gets messed up. With football, last week there was 9.25 hours of football. Can't you just move all that stuff over to your sports station and let us have what we've got, like maybe on Saturdays play parts of Larry Elder and Laura Ingraham or something, stuff we don't get to hear through the week?
Sure. Well, here's what I will say, and because I'm with you in that sense, I like being the conservative host and the political host that I am. I agree with you in that sense. I like to not interrupt broadcasting as much as possible. That decision comes from the higher ups that I unfortunately have no say on. Even being the operations manager, it is. I know that KQAM here in the Wichita area, we're an affiliate with Kansas State, with K-State Athletics. So the basketball games unfortunately do interrupt some of the broadcasting, and that's just a decision that I really don't have a whole lot of authority over to change. I would like to be able to move over. I know that our sports station KGSO, they're the affiliate of OU, but I know when you look forward to listening to Joe Pags or Armed American Radio or Jim Bohannon, and and then you turn on with the basketball game. So I get it. I totally understand because I'm right there with you. But that one is one that I don't usually get a whole lot of say on.
I thought maybe you'd have some pull in that where you're the operations manager, but I wish they'd change their ways, and I might get flamed on this because I don't care about that stuff. I'd sooner listen to what we usually listen to, and so I go searching for other stations, and thank goodness I got a powerful enough radio I can pull San Antonio or Dallas or some other places in here.
Sure. Well, I totally get it, and I mean, being a listener before I got into radio, I was the same way too, because it is frustrating when you want to listen to your show. Luckily, from what it looks like, I mean, looking at the basketball schedule for K-State, especially when we broadcast it here, there's maybe once at the utmost twice a week where it'll interrupt broadcasting, and usually they're not too early in the day to where it'll interrupt too much of it, so you usually get the majority of Joe Pags. But yeah, I get it. I totally get it. It's one where, again, I don't have to say whether it airs or not, just when we know it needs to. It's my job just to make sure it gets on the way it's supposed to.
Okay, Andy. Well, I sure like your show and appreciate listening to you and all the shows you have on. But like I say, boy, it'd be nice on Saturdays to hear some of Larry Elder and Laura Ingraham. But,
sure. Larry Elder, we air, that one usually doesn't get interrupted. I mean, that one's early in the morning if you do listen that early. Larry Elder, we do air on KQAM from 3 to 6 in the morning. That's right after Dana Lesh that we air. So that one's, first right off in the morning there, you can hear that. But yes, and if I remember correctly, the schedule this week for KQAM, that we do have another K-State football game. That one starts at about 12:30-ish, I believe, for the station.
Yeah, and it'll be over with about 8:45 again.
Yeah, they have a long broadcast. That they absolutely do.
Yeah, it's crazy for a college football game. But anyway, okay, you let me voice my opinion, and I appreciate it. And maybe other people will chime in. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll get flamed. I don't know.
Hey, no, that's all right. I totally get it. Lee, I appreciate the call, my friend. I really appreciate that and listening to the station and everything. So very much appreciate that. 316-720. I know the other stations on the western part of the state were like, we don't care. But, they do the same thing. We got different broadcasts. Here's the thing. When it comes to radio, on the radio side of it, not just me being the talk show host, but me being the operations and program director for Steckline Communications, for all the stations that we do air for the first hour here. Unfortunately, that for whatever reason, that's the way talk radio has always been. Even news talk stations, when I interned for 850 KOA out in Denver, and I interned for Mike Rosen, which was they had a lot of local talk shows. But, he was kind of the big kahuna. He had filled in for Rush Limbaugh a few times, kind of a big deal. He was kind of the biggest talk show host in the state of Colorado. And some people may even remember him. And he would get preempted many times during the summer because 850 KOA was a Denver, the Colorado Rockies baseball, Rockies affiliate. And when they would have day games, they would interrupt him. And a lot of people would be very angry. Talk radio, sports talk or news talk, they still have their affiliation with some kind of sporting event. And I mean, now for locally, just to explain it a little bit, I mean, it does help with the revenue of the station being locally owned, especially, and looking for revenue to continue on with the station. So I get it in that sense. And I'm not dissing it in any sense. You can see the K-State flag behind us here because we are an affiliate of K-State. I know in the western part, KIUL, an affiliate with Westwood One NFL. So they air a lot of the college games and the NFL games. KGYN does the same thing down in Guyman, Oklahoma that we air. So, I mean, there's still a lot of sports on there just for the sense of, hey, it gives the station an opportunity to get something else as additional revenue, additional broadcasting, additional. So, I mean, we air NASCAR as well on Sundays, which interrupts a lot of the programming as well. So I totally get it because a lot of people, especially during the week, do not want their stuff to be interrupted just because, hey, you want to listen to your talk show. Totally get it. I'm right there with you. But that's, for whatever reason, that's the way the majority of talk stations do and what they do on a large, vast portion across the country. A lot of talk stations do it. Got some more callers on the line. Stay tuned. This is The Voice of Reason.
You're listening to The Voice of Reason on the Mid-American Network.
Hey, welcome back into The Voice of Reason right here on the Mid-American Network. Appreciate you hanging out with us today on a Friday. It's a free-for-all Friday. Whatever's on your mind, troubling you, bothering you. Hey, I am your political therapist. Let's work through it together. Love all the calls. 316-721-8255. 316-721-TALK. Let's go right back to them, shall we? Good morning. What's your name?
This is Pete.
Hey, good morning, Pete. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. I've got something just been getting under my cross since we saw the story break yesterday about the old Stuart Smalley, Al Franken.
Okay.
Here you've got the people of Alabama trying to decide on a senator, and you've got Mitch McConnell standing up there saying, we're not going to seat this guy. We're going to throw him out.
Yes.
We've got allegations against him, and we're going to throw this guy out.
Yep.
And then the Al Franken story breaks, and nothing but crickets from McConnell and his bunch.
Yep.
Now, what does that really tell you about your vaunted Republicans?
That's the thing. Now, look, here's the thing with Al Franken, because you bring up exactly the point that I wanted to make today that actually was made yesterday when it comes to the chief strategist for the Roy Moore campaign down in Alabama and I'm going to play some of the audio here in just a little bit, but that's exactly the point. The fact that, you know what, there's accusations, doesn't matter if there's any evidence or not. We don't want that reputation. We don't want an individual in there like that. Roy Moore, you need to back out of the race. We don't want you in the Senate because you can't be doing things like that. Okay, fine. So we're going to hold that standard across the board, right? You're right. As Al Franken comes out. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to give Al Franken the same opportunity as I am Roy Moore when it comes to allegations versus actual evidence. The difference is now is that Al Franken actually has a little bit of evidence with what he did with the picture of him going after the girl's midsection there when she's asleep in the military outfit. So there's pictures proving what the accusations are all about. I still have yet to see hard, solid evidence when it comes to Roy Moore and what he's being accused of, other than the autograph and the message in a yearbook, and there's the skepticism and speculation on whether that's actually legit or not. So I still have yet to see any type of proof or evidence to give and solidify the reputation they're trying to create for Roy Moore. But at the same time, Al Franken has a legitimate picture and proof of what they're accusing him of doing, and yet we hear crickets from Mitch McConnell in the Senate saying that he should resign because we're going to hold a standard of not having any kind of sexual allegations come from a member of the Senate.
Well, it just goes to show that if you're not a swamp monster like McConnell and the boys, they don't want you in there. And I think, what does that say when the senator from Kentucky is trying to mandate who the people from Alabama are going to choose to represent them? Honestly, I know you're a party guy, Andy, but I think you need to wake up and smell the coffee. The Republican Party, we ought to just call them what they are, Republicans. Because they're nothing but Democrat-like.
Well, I would go back again to the difference on who's in the Republican Party. Yeah, there are definitely, and I'm not denying in any way, shape, or form that there are that there are these swamp rats within the Republican Party, the Mitch McConnell, the Paul Ryan, the ones that like to bully. Look, the reason they're influencing Alabama in the Alabama election is because they've been losing desperately, losing badly against Donald Trump and the conservatives smartly understanding that they need to piggyback on the populist movement of Donald Trump, and they're getting a louder voice. The establishment side that has been able to govern, that has been able to control, that has been able to manipulate for the longest time is beginning to lose control over what's happening at the federal level, and they're scared. They've never lost that before. They love the go along to get along, do just a little something before the election to say that they were productive, and then give another 5-year plan out to say they need to get reelected or else they're going to lose the ability to do something positive. And then they skate through and they spend lots of money, and that's the only thing we got to do. We can't stop it. Oh, look at this scenario. We're in the minority. We don't have the opportunity to do anything different. And that's what we're up against right now. And now
it goes further back than this. You seem to forget 1976. Reagan would have had the nomination were it not for the efforts of our boy Paul Manafort.
Sure.
Getting Jerry Ford the nomination.
Sure.
And when Reagan finally did win, the Republican Party, the establishment, hated him then.
Mm-hmm.
So the Republicans really are no different than the Democrats. When it's the conservatives that identify as Republicans, but it's not the Republican Party; it's the conservatives within it.
Exactly, and the conservatives that identify as Republicans.
The Republican Party out.
Right. I just can't see us leaving the party just because of the loud voice, the loud money that they have, because of us actually having somewhat of a voice within the party. What we need to do is do what we're doing right now with embracing Donald Trump and with the populist movement, with conservatives having a louder voice than they've ever had before. I mean, this is good news in the sense that we're actually, look, if Roy Moore comes out of this sexual allegation thing and ends up winning Alabama, it will be another massive defeat for the Democrats and a massive defeat for the establishment Republicans like Mitch McConnell, because they're so desperate, which is why they sunk $38 million into Luther Strange to try and beat Roy Moore, by the way, because they don't want to lose it. If they lose again this is going to be another black eye for the establishment Republicans, and they're going to start losing their majority of what they had in the Senate to continue to block the Donald Trump agenda. When we have that kind of opportunity, it's going to be great. It's going to be huge. We can't abandon the Republican Party. We're on track right now to crumble the establishment and allow the conservatives to be able to take back the Republican Party. Pete, I appreciate it. Got to take a bottom of the hour break here. Got some more calls on the line. Don't go anywhere. We'll continue this when we come back. But look, we're on the brink right now of completely changing the tide of the Republicans. We can't lose that. We have some great things going on right now, and Roy Moore is going to win in December and is going to prove the fact that we're actually on the uptrend here.
Giving the libs one dose of sanity at a time.
I'm not being aggressive, I'm being dominant.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Hey, welcome back into the Voice of Reason right here on the Mid-America Network. It's a Friday. Good morning to you. It's a free-for-all Friday, whatever's on your mind, and some fun conversations already. We appreciate that. We love it. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK if you want to join in. It's a conversation that we actually haven't had in a while, and I appreciate Pete bringing it up. And I totally get where you're coming from. A lot of people just frustrated, upset, done. The party's gone, the party's lost, there's nothing we can do about it. Here's the thing. Third parties, look, I'm not a fan of the two-party system. I'm not saying that I am. I'm saying that that's just the way it is. And the best opportunity, the best way that we can actually win is for conservatives, for libertarians even. I know libertarians have kind of strayed away and said, I'm done, I can't do it, and they go off and start their own thing. I'm advocating, and I've been a strong advocate, to keep the party together, because the ones that actually are based on an ideological base, a foundation, some kind of principles that they actually want to advocate for, when we unite together Yeah, you know what? Conservatives, Tea Party conservatives, and libertarians may have a little bit different take on maybe social issues, on maybe international issues, and whether it's international trade, whether it's international involvement with conflicts. But let's have those debates internally there, but let's unite as a party, because we can take back the party. We can take it back. That is the loudest voice that we can have. That is the strongest voice that we can have. And try and go third party, it's never going to work. It's never, other than the maybe two independents that are at the federal level in Congress, if that, there's never been a single individual that's won the presidency under a third party. There's maybe a handful of libertarians that have won at local elections, city councils, that sort of thing. Not even state legislatures. Are there really any in the country, the entire country? Are there really any libertarians, independents? There's just not. The parties have too much money. The parties have too many special interests. The parties have too many people involved in this. That's never going to change. Now, if the Republican Party collapses, then we can talk about something. I mean, that's how the Republican Party came to be. It's initially the Whig Party that collapsed, and the Republicans took over that. But that's what's going to happen. We can't just start it up and say, yeah, you know what, you guys keep doing your thing. We're going to go off and do our own. It's not going to work. It's going to fail miserably, and I don't want to lose the little voice that we already have, and we're gaining momentum. As I said, Ted Cruz has a louder voice than what he did 5 years ago right now. Mike Lee has a louder voice than what he did right now. Congressman Ron Estes from the 4th congressional seat here has a louder voice than he ever has before by getting in there right now. We have an opportunity, and we need to crumble. If we allow the establishment to win by hijacking and taking over the party, then they have won. We'll never get that back. We'll never be able to get our foot back in the door once they've taken it over completely. And right now, we're coming in mass. The people are angry. And I hate using the term again, we the people, but Republicans are angry. Republicans are frustrated. Republicans are done with the establishment. And the establishment is beginning to realize that. So they're scared, which is why they sunk $38 million into the primary with Luther Strange to try and beat Roy Moore in Alabama, because they're desperate and they don't want to lose another seat that they don't have control over. They're not able to bully their way through. Look, you always hear about the term whip, the whip in Congress, whether it's in the Senate or in the House, and it's the whip of the party that goes and tries to pressure certain individuals to vote one way or another on certain legislation that's being put up by one party or another. It doesn't really matter which side. The establishment is very, very good at that, because they threaten with how much money and influence they have to beat them in the primary and kick them out of their seat unless they start supporting what they need to. And that's not what we're all about. And we're going to show them. We're going to show up en masse, and the best way to beat them, to defeat them, to show them that they don't have the voice and the representation of us, is by beating them at their own game. And that's what we're beginning to do. Donald Trump does not take their crap. And conservatives are partnering up and buddying up with that. Whether he's really the most conservative guy or a more populist individual, it does not matter. We are beginning to win. We are beginning to advance in the party. We have a louder voice than we ever have before. Look at the conversation that's happening right now. We have a conversation of destroying John McCain, because John McCain single-handedly destroyed Obamacare reform and repealing of Obamacare because he despised Donald Trump. Whenever have we had the discussion of John McCain being the rhino establishment, terrible, horrible individual that he may be, even with his medical conditions right now? I mean, if this happened during the George W. Bush time, first off, it never would have been a discussion. But with Donald Trump in there, with conservatives partnering up with him and making this happen, now we're starting to see the lines in here, the lines in the sand, to where many Republicans before did not even recognize them. We're seeing the ones that are actually working with Trump, trying to get something done productively, with Trump actually saying, hey, I want something on my desk, I want to be able to sign it, and I want to do something productive, as opposed to the other ones that are blocking it and trying to find excuses in order to do so. The lines in the sand have been drawn, and people who were voters and constituents thought may have been conservative are now starting to see that their individuals, their elected officials, are not representing them the best way they want to, because they want something done, and it's not happening. We're exposing them more so than ever before, and I see that as good, positive progress and movement. 316-721-8255. That we cannot leave the party. I would love to say that we don't need parties, but unfortunately we do. Right now, in this political climate right now, and for the longest time, we need the party. I don't say that I like that. Just to me, I cannot see leaving the party. I don't think I can ever leave the party because I don't want to lose the little voice that we already have. 316-721-8255, 316-721-TALK. Let's go back to the phones here, shall we? Good morning. What's your name?
Hey, it's super happy Friday.
Myron, how are you, sir?
Oh, I'm good enough today to be twins.
Hey, there you go. That's a good day there.
Wanted to just kind of tag on to what you've been saying and what the other caller was saying. The way I see it, I draw the parallel between our local, well, the big one, First District Congressman Tim Huelskamp, and Roy Moore. The Democrats don't want him in office. The establishment Republican Party doesn't want him in office. And my view is, we, for better or worse, we kind of stuck our thumb in the eye of the establishment when we elected Donald Trump.
Sure.
And since the Republican, bigwigs are so set against Judge Moore, I kind of consider the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And I think it would be fantastic if the voters of Alabama who like Roy Moore, who I hope like me can forgive a repentant sinner, and just take their votes and stick it in McConnell's eye that we're choosing who represents us, and we like Moore whether you like him or not.
Sure. I can definitely see that. Now, here's the thing, and I'm glad you brought that up, because now that we do broadcast in the big First District with KIUL and with that area now, even with KGYN, I mean, it's an interesting conversation. Now, again, I got nothing against Roger Marshall. We're going to get him on the program here soon. I was a big fan of Tim Huelskamp when he was in that seat. And you're right, a lot of individuals in D.C. did not like him there because he stood some feel a little too staunchly on his principles. I was a big fan of his Tea Party conservative movement. I remember when I was actually broadcasting in Garden City on KIUL, years ago, and I don't know if you remember this bill, the Cut, Cap, and Balance bill that was fronted by the Tea Party. One of the first things that they did when they really got some big movements up there in Washington, D.C., the Cut, Cap, and Balance bill was actually co-sponsored by Tim Huelskamp, and we discussed it at length out there at that time. And I think he did wonderful, tremendous work. I am a very big fan of Tim Huelskamp. I think that there was a mixture in that election of why he lost between a lot of money coming from outside of the state to encourage his defeat in the primary, along with in my opinion, not a very strong and not a very well-campaigned election. And not a very well-run campaign, just for the fact that it got very personal between Tim Huelskamp and Roger Marshall. And again, nothing against Roger Marshall in that sense, but it did get very personal in those between the history of Roger Marshall and something that he did and why Tim Huelskamp got kicked off the Ag Committee when, I totally understand, but I don't think he did a very good job explaining that on the campaign trail because it was too much trying to go after the personal attacks, and I think that's what lost him the election. So there was a combination of issues on why Tim Huelskamp ended up losing that one, and now we have a little bit different tone there. It's not necessarily the ideological driven a mindset like Tim Huelskamp had, good, bad, or indifferent. That's just, the different styles between Roger Marshall and Tim Huelskamp. So I guess you can see the similarities. You're right, Myron, and I appreciate the call between what happened in the big First District in Kansas and what's happening in Alabama is that there's outside forces that may not like the individual that potentially could be up and coming there. So they're sinking a lot of time and investment and money into the opposition to try and beat them. And right now, especially with Alabama, this really didn't happen in the big first, but in Alabama, the establishment Republicans, which how much they sunk into Luther Strange to try and beat Roy Moore, with how much they despise Judge Roy Moore, and now I feel that they've started these allegations inappropriately, that they would rather have a Democrat who works with the Democrats, as many of the establishment Republicans are doing already. They would rather have a Democrat win that seat than hold it as a Republican and a conservative of someone who's not going to listen to the establishment. They would much rather have the Republican lose in this one, not because of the party name and how many we can say we got another Republican in there or we maintained a Republican in there, but the fact that, okay, you know what? He's not going to be in our control. It's going to be easier to work with the Democrats right now to be able to stop the Trump agenda because we despise it so much. So therefore, we're going to go down that road, and we're going to hope that maybe if we can taint him just enough, the Democrat can win this race, get someone else in there, and we'll actually be more in line with the Democrat than we will with conservative. Now, again, that part didn't happen in the big first, but that's what's happening in Alabama right now, in my opinion. This was Roy Moore's chief strategist for the campaign yesterday when he made a statement talking about all these allegations.
And we'll win, because on December the 12th, Judge Moore will win a seat to the U.S. Senate. Judge Moore will win, and he will be seated. And if they want to perform this coup right out in the open, I send them this message, and that is they messed with the wrong guy. If they don't have enough sense, and it doesn't appear that they do up there, they're messing with the guy that had the highest elected judicial office in the land. No other judicial elected office is as high as a Chief Justice. And he willingly gave that up, standing for principles. And I promise you, they don't want Judge Moore there. And the reason they don't want Judge Moore there is because Judge Moore believes in God, and that's the Christian God, and he believes in the Constitution that this country was based upon.
That is the reason right there why the big red flag has come up for me every time that I hear about sexual allegations from Roy Moore, and they continue on and on and on and on. To me, it just doesn't make sense. Lots more coming up here. Stay tuned. This is The Voice of Reason on the Mid-America Network.
You're listening to The Voice of Reason on the Mid-America Network.
Hey, welcome back into The Voice of Reason. Wrapping up hour number 1 right here on the Mid-America Network. Appreciate you hanging out with us today. It's a Friday. It's a free-for-all Friday. Not just is it a free-for-all Friday. Oh, you're going to love this today. Yeah, you're going to love this today. Not just is it a Friday or a free-for-all Friday. It's also a fried chicken Friday from Inman Harvest Cafe. As you know, 112 South of Main Street in downtown Inman. Then you got the fried chicken. But not just is it just a fried chicken Friday, but it's also a Thanksgiving fried chicken Friday. This day has just blown my mind already. You see the commercial where like the purple smoke comes out and poof, like the mind blown kind of thing. That's what happens today with Inman Harvest Cafe. Katie's on the line with us. Katie, how are you this morning?
Good morning, Andy. Happy Fried Chicken Turkey Day.
Oh, it's going to be a great time. So you have Fried Chicken Friday, which is already a big deal, and everybody loves it, and it's a huge thing for you guys. But now you're doing Thanksgiving dinner tonight and Thanksgiving Day with Fried Chicken Friday. So you're going to have fried chicken and turkey and everything else that you usually go along. It's going to be kind of a big deal today.
It's a huge deal. Yeah, it's actually. I think we're almost a little bit crazy, honestly, because we've got so many different things going all at one time to put on a buffet like this. Because we've got our turkey. We cooked 135.26 pounds of turkey.
Yes.
Yes, between yesterday and today overnight. I mean, it took us like 2 stages because that's a lot of turkey. And then we've got 80 pounds of sweet potatoes and 100 pounds of regular potatoes going. So it's sweet potatoes, it's mashed potatoes,
very nice.
It's cheesy potatoes with the cornflakes on top, because everybody loves those.
Absolutely.
Then we've got green bean casserole, we've got creamy corn. Then we've got our fried chicken, because you can't have Friday without the fried chicken. You just can't.
Absolutely.
So that's like the only thing on our buffet that's not Thanksgiving-y. Because you can eat fried chicken anytime. It doesn't. You can eat fried chicken for Christmas.
Absolutely. I mean, fried chicken just goes with anything for any holiday at any time. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. So then we've also got a cranberry salad, and this evening we'll have the pumpkin pie, the pecan pie, the apple pie, all the traditional Thanksgiving pies to go along with it. So it's promising to be an extremely fast-paced day.
I cannot believe how much is going to be happening there. Like you mentioned, it's going to be so much fun. Now, we got to remind everyone, not only with the Thanksgiving deal and the Fried Chicken Friday, it's the buffet from 11 to 1 for lunchtime, which is where really a lot of this is going to kick off. You have your big buffet tonight from 5 to 8 o'clock at night. Do you still get the first come, first serve free slice of pie when you get there for the buffet?
Yes, you'll get pie. We've got like a whole bunch of pie here.
You got a whole bunch of pie.
We got a whole bunch.
Very good.
So we'll have the coconut. Let me just run it down for you real fast. We'll have coconut, pumpkin, apple, custard, pecan, bumbleberry, and banana split today. And of course, remember the bumbleberry is the is the strawberries, raspberries, blueberries, rhubarb, and apple. So that's all mixed together in a fall festive type berry pie.
The one that I still have yet to try. I am dying to try that because that just sounds so good with that bumbleberry. So the next time I head up there, that's the one I have to get.
You have to tell us when you're coming so that we can be sure we've got some.
Yes.
It's not an everyday pie. It's mostly a Friday pie.
Mostly a Friday pie. I don't know how you guys are going to do it today. It's so crazy. I don't even know if you slept last night.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Very little, actually, yeah.
So you get your little half-hour nap and you're good to go there. So I love it.
I'm rocking it.
That's the way we do it. I love it. It's fantastic. It's the Inman Harvest Cafe, 112 South Main Street. It's downtown Inman. It's the Fried Chicken Friday. It's a Thanksgiving Fried Chicken Friday. Give them a call, 620-585-6925. Visit them online, inmanharvestcafe.com. Continue to do the shenanigan craziness that you guys are up to today. We'll talk to you again here in a couple hours and see where you're at.
Okay. Sounds good. We'll talk to you then.
Always
Thanks.
a good time. There's Katie with the Inman Harvest Cafe. Appreciate those guys partnering up with us on a Friday here on The Voice of Reason. We got a caller on the line. I don't have time to get to you yet. Hang tight if you can over the top of the hour. Hour number 2 will kick off with you. A lot of great stuff happening. Robin Lace, Mike Furches also going to be joining us in the second hour. We're going to be talking about some of the stuff that they would like to do so on a Friday as we usually do. Plus, in the 8 o'clock hour, we're going to be having Congressman Ron Estes joining us. We'll play that interview in the first hour on Monday for those of you in the western part of the state that do not get an opportunity to listen to that. This is your show. It's time to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. I can't believe that hour number 1's done already. It's a Friday. It's a free-for-all. Let's enjoy it, baby, because, hey, we're just less than a week away from a holiday to expand the size of the waist just a little bit. Because why? Well, we get the opportunity to do so. This is The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
It's time for Reason.
Yes, yes, and yes. They should be scared. They should be absolutely petrified of the fact that we are talking about trying to change the Constitution because this is their loophole. Now, what we have to do, Republicans, you have to rally around one singular movement. You have to create the amendment in order to change the suitable funding phrasing in the Constitution. You have to be able to do it.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Then I get on my knees and pray. We don't get fooled again. Don't get fooled again.
Good morning to you. Welcome into The Voice of Reason right here on the Big Talker, 1480 on the AM side, 102.5 on the FM side, KQAM. It's the day we look forward to every single week. It is a Friday. You know how we do it. It's up to you. We're open lines are to you. Anything you want to talk about, anything we touched it, didn't touch on, anything bothering you, let's make it a free-for-all. Let's do it. All right. 721-8255-721-TALK. If you want to join into the program, I want to hear from you today. Lots to get to, lots to discuss. There's a lot of things happening in the world. Shenanigans, malarkey, that we just can't deal with on a daily basis, and it drives us nutso sometimes, so we need to delve in, dissect it, because we are, by the way, the movement. We are the catalyst spurring a movement that's greater and bigger and better than we've ever seen it before, and we do it right here on this program. Welcome into it, 721-8255-721-TALK. Shoot me a message on Facebook, on the Voice Reason page, on the KQAM page, on the Twitter, which I need to bring up. By the way, did you realize, I don't know if you can see or not, but if you are on Twitter, that you can actually now, you have doubled the amount of characters you're allowed to have in a tweet. Apparently that's big news, and that way people can actually spend half the time or double the time to be able to get the message out there. It's starting to look like Facebook now, I guess, to where I thought the Twitter thing was supposed to be just really short, sweet, and simple, which was the Democrat progressive platform, and a very easy way for them to explain their argument, because that's how deep that their argument actually is. So nonetheless, but now you have double the space on Twitter. I don't know whether that's a good day or not, but there you go. Shoot me a message on there. The Facebook Live feed is up and rolling. We are dominating today. People checking it out. We love it. We appreciate it. With you tuning in to the Facebook Live, we are beating the sports station today and yesterday, by the way, so that's a good thing, because we cannot allow the sports gurus to beat us when it comes to political talk radio. It's not just going to happen. We're not going to allow it. We're going to win. It's going to be huge. It's going to be bigly. I tell you what, 721-8255-721-TALK. We do have on the phone with us, broadcasting from outside of the state, as now Santa Claus is getting prepared to meet all the little children of the area. And Mike Furches on the line with us. Mike, how is the beard? I mean, it's nice and pure white like snow now, isn't it?
Oh, you bet. I mean, it's you would just think I'm Santa Claus.
That's right. Now, where are you located right now?
I'm actually I'm in the far northeast corner of Tennessee.
You're in Tennessee.
Northeast corner. I'm within. There's certain spots I could probably go see 6 states.
Well, see, now, I mean, it's a beautiful area, by the way, down there, too. But being in the South-ish, being in Tennessee, and then working with the stores that you're working with for the Santa Claus deal, I mean, this kind of guarantees you kind of have to have a camouflaged Santa Claus suit.
Well, we've talked about that. Last year, I wanted to wear a cowboy Santa Claus suit with the guns and everything. I probably could have got by with it, but they still want me in either a Father Christmas or a traditional red suit, Coca-Cola suit, what they call the Coca-Cola suit.
Sure.
But yeah, the camouflage, if I could get by with it, I'd go for it. I got a buddy that actually does the camouflage Santa.
I really think you do. I mean, come on, you're working at what, the Bass Pro Shops? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, come on, you're
very pro-American, pro-Second Amendment company. So
you're in a Bass Pro Shop in the South. Give me a break. That should just be standard right there. Like, you shouldn't be allowed to walk into Bass Pro Shop unless you had some form of camouflage on you in the first place.
Yeah, it's something here. But, man, when I was in Houston, Texas last year, I don't know if my buddy David Applegate's listening or not, but that I love the store. I just hated the traffic, and this is a chance for me to come home. And so it's the first time I've been home at Christmas in 35 years.
I do have to say, over the weekend, last weekend, the wife and I, we took our 3-year-old and we went to the mall and we did the grand opening of the Santa Claus being there, and they did the dancers, they had the ballerinas, and they did the.
Yeah, I was there too. I was there as well.
Oh, were you? Okay, yeah, it was a great time. We got to see that. It was a lot of fun. But I do have to say, and nothing against the Santa Claus thing, but the 3-year-old was almost more excited about the fact that Princess Anna and Elsa from Frozen were there along with Santa Claus. So she got to take a picture with Santa Claus and with Anna and Elsa, and that pretty much just like summed up her entire day right there.
I took my granddaughter, and that's the first thing she noticed. Did you walk around the mall at all?
Oh yeah. We walked around and had a great time.
Did you see the Christmas tree dress in one of the shops?
No, I don't think so.
The dress that's made out of an artificial Christmas tree, it was incredible. Huh. It's up on the upper tier.
How
and
fun.
It's like the leaves and the branches off the tree or the skirt part of it. It's a full-length dress. My granddaughter saw that and said, "Oh, Peepaw Claus, look at that. Peepaw Claus, look at that."
How fun. I love it. We got a lot to cover. I think Robin just joined us on the line as well. We'll get to her in a second. But, Mike, this hour we have to. I know that we like to talk every once in a while, kind of shifting gears away from politics a little bit. I do want to touch on some point in the hour a little bit of the audio clips that I have from the strategist from the Roy Moore campaign with some of the comments he made yesterday. I think it was the bold statement that needed to be made going into the election. So we'll cover that in just a little bit here. But Mike, this hour while you're on as well, we have to do a little movie review. The Darkest Hour, I've not seen yet. I am extremely excited to be able to see it. Talking about World War II, talking about Prime Minister Winston Churchill, talking about the early stages of World War II. I know you saw it. You did a review on this. We have to talk about this hour. Is that okay?
Sounds great.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So we will get to that here, but I believe that we do have a caller on the line. Let's see if this is Robin, 721-8255-72 on Talk. Good morning. Who's this?
Good morning. It's Robin.
There it is. Robin, how are you this morning?
I'm good.
Hey,
we saw Mike.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We still got Mike on here as well, so that way we can all chat.
Hi, guys.
There we go. Hey. Now, Robin, you're in Colorado. This is kind of the multi-state broadcast today. We got Mike out in Tennessee. We got Robin. You're out in Colorado still, correct?
Yes. I'm actually in Walsenburg this morning, and then I leave Walsenburg. I'm going to go over to Mount Vista. And right now, I'm at the coolest little coffee shop. Oh, my God, it's adorable. And Natural Healing Arts. Okay, and we're getting the camera set up, and I'll show you all that good stuff here in a minute. But we were talking about movies, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Mike, I was telling you I that dental surgery earlier this week, and it's not been one thing after the other, right? But I told you that there were some movies that I watched, and they were just so healing and made you feel really good, right? Charlotte's Web.
Yeah.
like the old school traditional Charlotte's Web?
Yeah, well, yeah.
I haven't seen that in 10 years.
I know, right? So I was watching that, right? And I'm like, oh, this just feels so good to watch those old movies when you were a kid or when you watched them with your granddaughter, right? Like me. And then the other one was Casper.
Yeah, see, we watched Casper during Halloween time just a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't realize how good of a movie classic that one was, too. I forgot all about it.
Right? And, oh, gosh, and then there was another one, Batteries Not Included. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah, I remember all of these. These are shows I watched with my kids when they were little, yeah.
Exactly. And I remember watching them with my granddaughter and then, being a little girl watching them. And, and so after having that, dental surgery and just everything that's been going on, it was the coolest thing, honestly, to just turn everything off.
Probably what the cash you get for your dental work made it even better, Robin.
Right. Well, we may have to talk about that one later. But I do have to tell you, though, I'll show you some of the things I did get here at this coffee shop and health food store here in a minute whenever you guys are ready. But just, getting back to eating healthy and living healthy 100% all the time it's been great. I'm loving it.
I bet. Now, I do have to say, though, Thanksgiving is coming up next week. Eating healthy is not an option next week.
Well, you'd be surprised. I'll be showing you how to do that. Yeah, I'll show you how to do that.
So what are some of the tips? I mean, Thanksgiving, we got the turkey, we got the ham, we got the stuffing, we got the mashed potatoes, we got all the snacks, we got the pies. I mean, what is the way to eat healthy for Thanksgiving?
Oh, I think that's pretty easy. I mean, don't overdo it. That's the one thing I've learned.
Robin, that's not an option. That's for Thanksgiving. Come on, I am going to be one of those to where you don't fit into your jeans for a week afterwards because you stuff yourself and gorge yourself. Which, by the way, me being the dork that I am in the first place, I have to wrap all of that into a tortilla as well. So you just have it's not by how many slices of turkey you can have, but it's how many burritos you can have of the of the mashed potatoes and the turkey.
And the other thing, do you do this too? Because I know you're a Colorado boy. Do you put like salsa and the green chili salsa on everything?
Everything. I gotta say that is the one thing in Wichita and in Kansas that I miss is having green chili being smothered on everything. You have the green chili just as a soup that you eat. You put it on your breakfast eggs. You put it on your hamburger. You put it on everything.
I know. It's just so cool. I'm loving it. So, and oh my gosh, and it's just always so fresh here. All the veggies. So I'll be bringing you some stuff from Mont Vista.
Hey.
Okay, and that's where they have that. It's the only one in the world. Okay, and it's a hotel that's all been redone, and it's beautiful. And every room has a different movie star or actress, on the door, and the rooms are all themed. And then you open your windows, and it's like the drive-in theater screens are right there. How cool is that?
Very nice. I love it. Let's take a break here real quick. When we come back, let's talk about some of the tips. Robin's got the tips on how to eat healthy for Thanksgiving, on ways so we don't overdo it, some of the ways that you can try and trim out some of the not so necessary things, and we'll talk about that. Robin Lace, Mike Furches on the phone, broadcasting from Colorado, broadcasting from Tennessee. We're right here in the Wichita area. It's great to be with you. It's a Friday. It's 18 minutes past the hour, and this is The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Hey, welcome back into The Voice of Reason right here on the Big Talker KQAM. Appreciate you hanging out with us today, where we sell conservatism and conservative accessories on a daily basis. 721-8255-721-TALK. This portion of The Voice of Reason brought to you by Network Consultants, business owners. You got all your computers, you got your network. You're trying to protect yourself from hackers. You're trying to back up your information so you don't lose it. You have programs that are running to actually make you be able to do what you need to do as a business. Network Consultants can help you with all of this. They're an infrastructure company. They help out with firewalls and sonic walls, database safety and security, network communication, VPN, backup solutions, even getting you set up on the cloud. With everything going on with your business, maybe sharing files, maybe having a network printer to where everybody prints at the same location, trying to have operations and different programs running at the same time, some of the stuff goes haywire. A computer crashes. You get hacked. the network goes down. It's not communicating. You're not getting backed up to where if you lose your information, you're done as a business. That could cripple you. It costs more money to repair these things than it does to actually maintain them. Network consultants can help you with that. Call now. Tell them that I sent you, and you'll get a free network analysis. Absolutely free. They'll come out. They'll visit your business, review your system, help you any way that you can, even help guide, manage, and teach you how to manage your own network, which is something that no other business actually does. They do have month-to-month plans available. You do not have to do long-term agreements. All you got to do is make the phone call. 316-201-4624, 316-201-4624, or visit network-consultants.com. Again, network-consultants.com. Tell them I sent you. Network Consultants, appreciate them partnering up with us here on The Voice of Reason. All right, Robin Lace and Mike Furches on the phone, broadcasting from around the country. We have kind of a nice flavor of the nation today as we're broadcasting from Colorado and Tennessee and everything about that. And Robin, a week away, I am so excited about. Now, I got to admit, we've been trying to do the healthier eating at home, and I'm struggling because I like my greasy, beautiful, bacon-covered double hamburger kind of thing, along with a very large adult beverage with it. So looking towards Thanksgiving and the holidays is always my favorite time of year. What are some of the tips? What are ways that we can eat a little bit healthier for Thanksgiving?
Well, I think one of the things that I've gotten back to doing that I think has been very helpful for me is eating less at one setting, okay? So I may eat 8 or 10 times a day, but it amounts throughout the whole day, right? And that's been very, very helpful. It's also good if you're suffering from high blood pressure, heart conditions, and stuff like that. If you eat a whole bunch, like we think we're supposed to do at Thanksgiving dinner, and it just messes up. I mean, imagine that. You're going to sit there being, I need to sleep and all that, And I just think that if you slow it down a little bit, that's the other thing, too. We get so busy working, and our day becomes 90 miles an hour. And I see people all the time that's how they eat. And slow it down. It's okay. Slow it down. Do you not agree?
Sure. No, I completely agree. And actually, I've heard the same thing before is, the proper way to eat as they recommend, like you mentioned, the smaller portions and eating 6 to 8 times a day as opposed to the 3 meals a day or even, and I fall into this. I mean, working the crazy hours that I do here at the radio station, I rarely eat lunch just because I never have time to do so. And then I go home and I don't eat breakfast because I don't like to eat at 4 a.m. when I'm half awake. So I go home and I eat a massive meal at dinner time and then I go right to bed. And that's probably not the best way to do it.
Oh, that's horrible. Yeah, that's absolutely horrible. Don't do that. Don't do that.
So, okay, so the smaller portions, what do you eat then? I mean, is it, because I like it when I do get to eat, and I've tried to go down that road, is eating some carrots throughout the day, trying to have, maybe a burger still because it's really good and slip that in one. But I mean, what are some of the things you can eat throughout the day? And especially for Thanksgiving, I mean, do you eat the big meal or do you spread it out and kind of munch on all the goodies throughout the day?
I'm going to be over in Mont Vista with my girlfriends. My honey's home cooking, okay? And I mean, she's doing the turkeys and the hams and all the different potatoes and dressings and wow, there's a lot, right? Plus all your veggies and homemade pies, the best in the world. So, I mean, to me, get up that morning and munch on your veggies. Get your carrot sticks, your celery sticks, start kind of light with that. And then go ahead and do that daily big Thanksgiving meal, but not all at once. Just a little bit of the meats, a little bit of the taters and dressing. You don't have to pile it on and then wait a bit. And then maybe come back later and just snack on the meat, or come back later and just snack on the potato or the dressing or stuff like that. But don't overdo it. The sad thing I'm seeing, too, that a lot of people that are just rushing through their food and just rushing through their life, slow it down a little bit. Whether it's eating or enjoying that cup of coffee or playing with the grandkids or whatever it is, we need to slow down. I can't say that enough. I know you, Andy. I know you, Mike. And I know our listeners, and we work a lot. We work so hard, and we're just go, right?
We do way too much. You're right. Mike, Mike, I don't know if you've started this or if you've done any of this, but sometimes I do the same thing to where you're right. I mean, I munch throughout the day. You see all the goodies, all the snacks during Thanksgiving. You munch them. And by the time the dinner's ready with the turkey and everything, then you almost don't want a full plate because, you know what? I've been munching all day. I'm a little tired and I'm a little full. So I'm just going to munch on a few pieces of turkey and then take a nap.
Yeah, I mean, for years, I was actually in really good shape, and then I hurt my leg real bad, my shoulder, so I got a little bit out of shape. But I actually know some healthy tips, Andy, and Robin's right. She's exactly right. There's ways to do it. You mentioned one way as far as your leftover turkey, instead of throwing it on 2 slices of bread, to use a tortilla shell or something of that nature. That's one way. Another tip that I learned years ago, gravy. Who don't love gravy on their mashed potatoes and stuff and turkey? But listen to this. If you take 3 or 4 ice cubes and put it in your gravy when your gravy is done, what will happen is all the fat will melt to the top, and you skim that fat off, you're going to save about 75% of the calories. You maintain all the flavor, every bit of it. You maintain all of it, but you still can't skim off about 75% of the calories by using ice cubes on gravy, letting it melt, and then skimming the fat off. And there's some myths that some people have. They have the myth of, well, I'll do sugar-free pies. That's bull. Don't do that. Do the real pie. In fact, if you check the fat and carbohydrate count on sugar-free versus non-sugar-free, regular pie, regular ice cream, and so forth, you'll find out that the sugar-free actually has more carbohydrates and more fat than the pies that's made with the sugar. So the key is moderation. Have a little bit, always inject a little bit of protein to offset the carbohydrates and fat that's in your food, because the protein will help eat that up. But there's ways to do it. I say have a little bit of whatever you want. Just don't overdo it.
Don't overdo it. Yeah, we got to take a bottom of the hour break here. Still really good tips, but it still just almost takes away half the fun. I mean, just skimming off the fat off the gravy, I totally agree. It takes away half the fun of Thanksgiving. We'll continue this discussion when we come back. Lots more to get to. This is The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
When will we learn to control?
It's time for your daily dose of reason.
Are you insane? I don't know. Just ignore him.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Welcome back into The Voice of Reason. 7:35 is the time. Appreciate you hanging out with us today on Friday. It's a free-for-all Friday. The Friday before Thanksgiving. How awesome is that? By the way, was at the Sedgwick County Republican Party meeting last night. Lots of individuals show up for that one. That was fantastic to watch. It was a huge crowd talking about the legislative discussions on what to look forward to with this session coming up in January. And we had Blake Carpenter on the show yesterday. We're going to have some more of them on in the next coming week, so stay tuned in for that. More information to get out. It's our time to be able to discuss what's going to happen up in Topeka, and for us to actually have a voice in it and tell our legislators what they're going to do. By the way, also, Congressman Ron Estes is going to be joining us in the 8 o'clock hour today in about 20 minutes or so, and we still have not forgotten that we have a turkey to give away today, along with the Dave Ramsey book, The Total Money Makeover, brought to you by You Build It of Wichita. We got some fun giveaways. Stay tuned in. We'll be doing that here. Oh, I don't know, like in the next hour and a half, so stay tuned for that. Mike Furches, Robin Lace, hanging out, one from Tennessee, one from Colorado. And by the way, what's the weather looking like in Colorado right now? Is it cold and snowy?
I've had a couple of good snows, 4 or 5 inches, but they're gone today. But I figured out something, Andy. You were always teasing me about how you don't like having to bundle up at night and then wear shorts during the day, right?
Yeah, it's a little ridiculous.
Well, not really. I think it is the fantastic workout that I needed, because at night, man, I am throwing blankets like I think it needs to be like an Olympic event or something. I can toss blankets like there's no tomorrow, and I can get them suckers right back on whenever I need to. I think that it's a great weight loss program. I really do.
Well, I guess you're looking at the silver lining and the positivity there, because it drives me. I was actually just talking to my wife about that a couple of days ago, and we are seeing some of the snow up in the mountains, and we're seeing the cold. And I love Kansas, and I despise Colorado for that fact that, especially in the summertime, you're in the middle of July, it's 80 degrees outside during the day, and you're wearing your cutoff and your shorts, and you're sweating. And then by 7 o'clock at night, the sun goes down and it drops down to 50, and you're wearing a hoodie, and it drives me. I don't like wearing coats during the winter time, let alone have to keep it out and keep my hoodie and coat out during the summertime. It drives me nuts.
Well, I laugh. I mean, there's still people running around wearing shorts every day here. Kids are going to school.
Yeah.
But it's not that kind of a cold here. Being down here,
different.
I am in SoCo. It's not that cold.
That is true. That is true. Yeah,
you guys are going.
That's all right. Well, that's all right. I'm glad that you're enjoying it there. It's definitely a different kind of cold, that is for sure. Mike, I want to get to this here real quick. The movies. I am so excited about this movie. I've not seen it. I really haven't seen a whole lot of new movies, which, by the way, I do have to ask you as well. Walking Dead, I am up to date on that. I don't know if you are or not. It is fantastic this season. What do you think?
I think it's been great so far. I missed the last episode. I've got everything DVR'd. I can go back and watch it here, and so we'll do that. But
I won't tell you anything then, but it's a bit of a shocker to some degree.
Yeah. So, well, I haven't seen it yet. I'll see it probably tomorrow or Sunday. I'll see it and then be able to get caught up on Sunday. So,
it's a good time. I mean, this one compared to some of the other seasons, what do you think?
Man, last season was something incredible. You know, it hasn't got to the point of where it was at last season yet, but the anticipation of getting there, because I know it will get there. There will be that ultimate one-on-one, head-to-head matchup.
Sure. Between
Dick and Negan. So I'm actually kind of looking forward to that. Hey, if you haven't seen it, watch Ride with Norman Reedus. There's a lot of references. He's had Greg Nicotero, Jeffrey, I can't think of his last name, that plays Negan. And it's a great show as well. And so they do a lot of Talking Dead and Walking Dead discussion on that particular show.
Oh, very good. I love Norman Reedus. I mean, he's my favorite character in The Walking Dead. I still think he's the baddest character there just because he's awesome. And so I have wanted to see that ride, but I haven't really checked it out yet.
Well, to think that character was never, that's one of the primary made-up character that was never in the comics either.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, he tried out. They found the position just for him because they wanted him to be in there.
And if you know his story, his life story is fairly phenomenal. I mean, growing up in Spain, living in Spain and L.A., and he just lived all over and was working at a motorcycle repair shop when he was cast for that show.
How fun. How fun. Well, and I got to say, I mean, Norman Reedus, the best piece that I think he was in, of course, was Boondock Saints, which is one of the best movies ever.
Yeah, I love that show. Boondock Saints is a class. And you think of everybody that came out of that, you know, Hoonan, I can't think of his first name, that played Jax on Sons of Anarchy. That's a great show.
Oh, I've never even seen Sons of Anarchy, so I don't know. But William Dafoe, I mean, was big in that one. Of course, Norman Reedus, and then I don't remember the other Irish guy's name. But yeah, I mean, great movie, classic, absolute classic. Yeah.
The other Irish guy was Hoonan, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So
that's right.
Anyway, what's out?
That's right. So yeah, now that's coming out, what's the latest?
I can. The two superhero movies that are out, they're okay, they're enjoyable, they're not great. I thought Thor was over. It's too much comedy. Justice League, they introduced way too many characters, and it's fun, and having multiple directors didn't help it any. The movie I'd encourage parents to take their kids to see right now is The Star, the story of the birth of the Christ child. It's something else. But there's 3 movies that's coming out next week that are really promising. There's other movies I could touch on, but there's 3 in particular coming out next week. 2 which should have major interest to your audience. One is Chappaquiddick.
Okay.
It's finally making it out. Stars Kate Mara, Jason Clarke, and some other folks. We all know the story of Ted Kennedy.
Yep.
And I think that people will be a little bit surprised that it portrays the story a little bit more accurately and leaves open for question, which I can appreciate. I don't appreciate movies that take one particular side and slant history. So Chappaquiddick's good. The other one that's going to have a lot of appeal to your audience, though, that should have a lot of appeal that I've seen is Darkest Hour. The story of Winston Churchill during the darkest hour, the toughest time during World War II. We have a generation of people that have forgotten what it's like to have people that want to kill us and destroy us. That's evidenced by the fact that people just don't seem to take terrorism as seriously as they should to some extent.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I mean, that would play very pertinent and very importantly today in today's times when a lot of people just don't see it because you're right. They don't pay attention to it. They don't see the threat as they did before because they're not walking at us in the middle of an open field in a red uniform.
It would be amazing that, one of the things I've contemplated, how would Churchill be received in the world today? I don't know if he would have been successful. I think it's very possible that with the attitude of many in the world today, that if the situation of Churchill arose today, that Germany very well likely could have won the war.
Sure.
And we see the consequences, the issue of making very tough decisions that this man made. Churchill was not a real successful person up until he became prime minister.
Sure.
There's a lot of failures that he had. So there's something that to be said there about overcoming those failures and becoming all that you can be. But Winston Churchill we call those men the greatest generation, those soldiers who served. I really wish the movie had been released last week prior to Veterans Day. But they're called the greatest generation for a reason. What they had to sacrifice, and in particular what Britain went through. I mean, the bombs were dropping on the cities and killing their children and killing their families. And yet they made the sacrifice, and they rose up because of the courage of a man like Winston Churchill. So it's a fabulous movie. Gary Oldman is already being mentioned for Best Actor of the Year for the Academy Awards. It would be interesting to see what Hollywood would do with that if a man like representing Churchill, who stood against some of the very things that many in Hollywood stand against. It'd be interesting to see how they, receive that. But it's coming out next week, and it looks really, really good.
I am really excited to see that, and I'm right there with you. The Justice League thing doesn't pique my interest. I'm so sick and tired of the superheroes, of the comic book heroes. I don't want that anymore, and I've told you this before. I want to go back to the traditional action movies, to where it's just a really big guy on steroids with guns that shows that anybody can be the hero, and you don't have to have superpowers to do so. I mean, Robin, wouldn't you agree with that? I'm sick and tired of thinking the only way that you can actually be a superhero and save people is if you got superpowers.
I don't want kids to think that that's true. I mean, I grew up with Superman and Batman and all that great stuff, but there's everyday people every day that are doing cool things,
right.
Awesome things. So you don't have to have superpowers to be cool and do awesome things. No, you don't. You can do that all by yourself.
Exactly. And that's what I want to see. I want to see the Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone that says, hey, if you put in the hard work to work yourself and be able to get in shape or you like Jason Statham and you want to learn karate, or you're Jackie Chan and you want to learn martial arts in that sense, and you can protect yourself, you can stop a bad guy from that, you can have a gun with you, you can protect yourself because you are you. You don't have to be some kind of isolated person that's in a depressed state because his family was slaughtered and you're all by yourself and you come up with some kind of superpower because you stepped into some kind of radiation poisoning, and you don't have to do that. You can be the hero of your own life and your own story, and that's what I want to see in movies again.
Right. I would love that.
When you think about that, go ahead, Robin.
Well, I just think that there was something about, going through this dental surgery, because I'm not kidding, it was not fun. It's like having half of my jaw rebuilt. Okay. And I can't tell you how much better I am already. I mean, the neck pain, the shoulder pain, and back pain that I have lived with for years because of this tooth thing and filling thing. I can't believe the difference. But Mike, I want you to know that as coming after that, and being able to just rest and watch movies, like I said, like Casper and some of those, it felt wonderful. It really did. It just was peaceful and it felt good to watch those kind of shows again. So I don't know about everybody else. I mean, I'm not one into, heroes and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, there's so many good movies out there right now. I hope that families and parents and kids can spend some time and don't get caught up. These actors and actresses don't need to be your heroes, please.
Well, that's very true, especially with the stupid comments they make.
Yeah. Well, Robin, you make a point there. You make a point, Robin, about, how they can help you feel, even the older movies. I take my wife on a date, try to every Wednesday night, and we usually go to the movie. But the ability to escape from reality, there's an important psychological component of that we don't need to be bombarded with bad news. We need some things that give us good vibes or that remind us of positive things. And I would totally agree. I like the superhero movies, but to be reminded that a real man like Winston Churchill did what he did. Each of us in our own way can be a hero, especially during this time of year. We might be giving away a turkey that Eddie needs to do at some point. Mm-hmm. It could be a number of things in regards to helping others. And when we do those small things, we have more of a lasting impact than we could ever begin to imagine on people.
Exactly.
I'm looking forward to serving some of the children of Appalachia. Yep. A lot of people don't realize that there's a lot of poverty in Appalachia. Would that be from parts of Kentucky, West Virginia, East Tennessee, some of these other places? And in a way, to see those children smile because they get to sit on the lap of Santa and he shows them some compassion. But there's so many ways that each of us can be a hero. Mm-hmm. And I encourage people to look at that instead of looking at all the complaining and all the negativity that goes on at that time.
Sure. I got a message on Facebook with this discussion. Someone saying, Andy, I'm very disappointed in you. You've never seen Sons of Anarchy. I know. I'm sorry. It's been on the list to watch. I've just never gotten to that one yet. I will get to it, though, after House of Cards, after Walking Dead, and then after The Ranch comes back out here in about a month, too, with season number 3. So we got a few minutes. The time goes by way too fast here. But, Robin, I know that you're in Colorado. You've been working on your online shop and the stuff you're doing. You said that you're also at a natural healer / coffee shop deal today. But real quick here, we got a couple of minutes before we got to take another break, but give us a rundown of some of the natural healing things that you've been working on that you've been seeing out in Colorado.
Well, I'm very happy with this herbal parasite syrup. And again, you can get this right here at the Daily Perk on 5th in Walsenburg. And then, like I said earlier, this new hemp oil, and it's a CBD. I'm very, very, oh my gosh, I'm very impressed with this. And then, I had to go get some organic toothpaste, and, I had an absolute blast shopping.
Wait. Organic toothpaste?
Yes. Yes, it was so nice to have that back.
What is that? Like, what's the difference?
You'd be surprised. I'm going to go grab it. I want to tell you what's really cool, too, though. The other thing, oh my gosh, that I think is way cool that's going on over here, and I can't wait to get to interview some more people. It's the I never have been able to say this county right, and I have friends I've known here for 3 and 4 years. Huerfano. Okay, you guys, it's spelled Huerfano. Okay, I always tease it and say Huerfano. But anyway, the cool thing going on, I think, is all the new business that's come here, all the new people that are coming here have been fantastic. Get ready. The Walsenburg, Colorado's new Center for Cannabis Research. I've been telling you guys, for the last couple months that if you come out here and you see this going on, it's not like Denver, okay? This is country folk down here. These are growers. These are farmers. These are ranchers. And now there's going to be a lot of medical testing. And I know a lot of people in Kansas, this is going to be very, very important to them. So that's another thing I'm working on.
Very interesting. A lot of stuff happening out there. Let's go ahead and take a break here. Wrapping up with Robin and with Mike. We got a lot of stuff to touch on when we come back as well. Plus, hour number 3, Congressman Ron Estes going to be talking about the tax reform bill that was just passed in the House last night. We'll talk about some of the details of that bill and more. Lots to get to today on a Free for All Friday. Plus, of course, your thoughts and calls. This is The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
You're listening to The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Welcome back into The Voice of Reason, wrapping up hour number 2. The show goes by way too fast here. We got just about 3 minutes before the top of the hour, but Robin, Lace, Mike, Furches in here. Actually, Robin just dropped off, but she may come back on. But Mike, the next week here, first off, if I'm sure we're not going to be able to talk on the air before then, but happy Thanksgiving to you guys out there in Tennessee. What's the plans for the next week other than being Santa Claus? Anything fun?
Between now and Thursday of next week, I have about 3 days off. I'll be working every other day. And then from Thanksgiving Day until Christmas Day, I work every day.
Every day. Wow.
Every day. So it's a busy time of year, but I do what I do because I really genuinely love the opportunity to give back to children.
Sure.
Someone that they can admire and respect, and hopefully in the way that I do it represent the true meaning of what Christmas is all about.
Absolutely. Well, it's going to be a great time. I know you're going to do a good job. I mean, you enjoy that. I know you look forward to this every year, and it's as you mentioned, it's a great time to be able to sit with the children and really give them something to look forward to every year. So it's going to be a blast for you. I'm really excited. Robin, are you back with us? Hello. Nope, I guess not. All right, that's all right. Well, we got about a minute left here. Mike Furches broadcasting out of Tennessee as you start doing the Santa Claus thing. How long does that go, by the way? Do you go up until Christmas Day? Do you go after Christmas Day? How long does that actually go for?
This year I go until Christmas Eve at 6 p.m. I think that all the Bass Pros around the country close at 6 p.m., so I'll go until that particular point in time. And again, the thing that makes this year even better is that for the first time in 35 years, I'm home. I hate to hear what I might sound like with my accent when I come back home, because it's a lot deeper here than what you might hear on my own voice. So,
hey, you know what? I like accent. It's funny. I had to get a new phone a couple of days ago. It's been an ongoing drama. I've been talking about it on the radio, but I found out my Siri, which I've never used Siri before in my life, that the iPhone 7 has an Australian accent for Siri, and I'm kind of really excited about this. So now my Siri voice is a female Australian voice, and I kind of dig it. So
I had mine set up one time as Billy Bob Thornton in Sling Blade. It was hilarious.
I love it. Yeah. Real quick here, I believe, Robin, are you back with us here? Going once, going twice. No, I don't know what's going on there. That's all right. Well, it's the best to you, Mike. Happy Thanksgiving to you. I know you're out of town and enjoying, but enjoy it. Have a lot of fun. I know this is something you look forward to every single week or every single year when it comes to the holiday season. Robin, she lost connection. We weren't able to get back with her, but happy Thanksgiving to her and her family out in Colorado. It's a great time. It's the time of the year, and we get to enjoy it. So, Mike, look forward to chatting with you again, getting another update next Friday on what's going on.
Okay, take care, Andy. Happy Thanksgiving to you guys, too.
Always good time. Happy Thanksgiving to you. And Robin, we'll try and get her back on later on. But happy Thanksgiving to her. Not able to get her back on the show, and we'll look forward to do that. When we come back, hour number 3, Congressman Ron Estes going to be joining us. Really excited about that. The House bill passed yesterday with the tax reform. What does that actually look like? Are we trying to raise taxes on the innocent, low-income individuals? We'll take a look and see. This is The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
It's time for Reason.
Yes, and yes. They should be scared. They should be absolutely petrified of the fact that we are talking about trying to change the Constitution, because this is their loophole. Now, what we have to do, Republicans, you have to rally around one singular movement. You have to create the amendment in order to change the suitable funding phrasing in the Constitution. You have to be able to do it.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Then I get on my knees and pray. We don't get fooled again. Don't get fooled again.
Oh, man, what a day it's been. What a day it's going to be. What a weekend we get to look forward to. Welcome into The Voice of Reason, hour number 3 of The Voice of Reason, right here on the Big Talker KQAM. As usual, it's a Friday. Whatever's on your mind, troubling you, bothering you, I am your political therapist. Let's work through it together, shall we? It's a free-for-all Friday. Let's make it happen. Come on. Let's do it. All right. 721-8255, 721-TALK. If you want to join into the program, I want to hear from you today. Whatever's on your mind, this is the time to do it. Open up. Let me know your thoughts, anything we've talked about, not talked about. Well, I have to get to it, though, and we got to get to our next guest. I'm so excited to talk to him. We love getting him on the program, especially after a big vote. When he first got into office, the very next, 2 weeks later, ended up voting on a major deal. Talked to us the day of the vote. So excited about this. Now, yesterday, a major vote. It's funny, we did the major Obamacare repeal vote from the House. That one ended up going through. Unfortunately, the Senate had their own mind to do their own thing. This time, the tax reform bill going through the House, being voted on, being passed very nicely. 13 Republicans, however, not voting for it. We have to talk about the details of this, because the rumor is that we're just going to cut taxes for the rich and elite, and then everybody else is just going to get a tax break or a tax increase because, well, you know, Republicans hate the poor people, and that's just the mentality that goes along. So to get the real details and what's really happening from the 4th Congressional District, Congressman Ron Estes is back with us here. It's great to have you back on the program, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. Great to be back with you, Andy.
Hey, I love having you on the program, and like we mentioned, after the big vote yesterday, I'm excited that it went through. I was a little nervous. I mean, I think it was going to go through the House, but the Senate's got their own little issues. But how did you feel going into the vote yesterday? Did you have a good feeling about it before the final vote was cast?
We felt really good. The House and the Senate and the White House have been working together for so long, all year basically, and even going back 3 and 4 years. But really, the current members have been looking to build a framework that would pass the House as well as seem to be acceptable for the Senate. And so we felt really comfortable. The bad part about yesterday, and you mentioned some of the Republicans didn't vote against it, is that there's just so much misinformation spread about what we're really going out there, and so that talked a lot about put a lot of pressure on some of our members, particularly from the high tax states. But
sure.
It's a great bill. I'm a big supporter of it. One of the things that we really wanted to do is make sure that we got tax cuts for everybody, and so the focus was getting rates lower. So looking at how do we get at every income level. And actually, now the way it's set up so that if you're a family of four and your family income's $55,000 or less, you won't pay any taxes at all because of the new doubled standard deduction, and more income is taxed at zero as opposed to the current tax code.
Wow. You don't hear that in the media. So let's, first off, all the media listening, all the local and statewide media that in the editorial boards that want to try and trash the Republican plan, let's go through some of these fallacies and some of the misconceptions here. First off, just 2 weeks ago, Jim Ward from the State House went to the Senate floor and testified along with some Democrats from the state, talking about how it's going to be the exact same plan in the failure of what we saw in the state of Kansas, and that's what Republicans are trying to do at the federal level. You wrote a brilliant piece. We read it on the program yesterday in the Wall Street Journal talking about the absurdity there, but go ahead and give us another rundown. The difference between, apparently some people don't understand the difference between a state budget and a federal budget, and the fact that we're already $20 trillion in debt at the federal level, and the fact that every time we have cut taxes and regulation, then we see what we've seen under Trump so far of over 3% GDP growth. But go ahead and break it down for some others again on why this is nothing like what happened here in Kansas.
Yeah, you mentioned it was kind of sad to see a couple of weeks ago there was this fake hearing and trying to make this mountain out of a molehill. Now, part of it gets back to there is some confusion, and there were some lessons learned about what went through in Kansas. But basically, the tax cuts in Kansas were really focused on cuts, whereas at the federal level, we're focusing on reform as well as being able to give people money back in their pocket and lower taxes. So, for example, in Kansas, when the rates were lowered for individuals and businesses, there wasn't really reform on the number of deductions. And so we put a lot of effort on the federal level to eliminate some of those loopholes and special interest deductions and things that actually take money away from the Treasury or don't reduce the amount of taxes that are brought in. I don't want to say take money away because it's individuals' money. They should need to keep it if they want to. But that's different than what was done in Kansas in terms of eliminating those loopholes. The other thing that we're focused on here is that we're giving similar tax cuts to C corporations as well as tax cuts for those pass-throughs and the small businesses, so that all businesses will be able to have more money in their pocket, be able to hire more people to expand their jobs and grow the economy. And that's the big thing is we're going to see so much economic growth, like you mentioned, back during the Reagan tax cuts and the President Kennedy's tax cuts. We saw lots of economic growth coming out of that across the country.
Absolutely. Here's another one for you. We read this earlier this week as well. The Department of Education and the teachers unions nationally and here in the state of Kansas were upset in trying to stop the tax reform because it would remove the deduction that teachers could have in write-offs when it came to spending money in the classroom. And they were all up in arms about the $250 that they could write off on their income and on their taxes. When I made the case that why aren't they upset in the fact that teachers have to spend their own money in the first place, but under this tax plan, if you're making $40,000, $50,000 as a salary for a teacher, it's not going to matter because you're getting more money back from the federal government anyways, as opposed to worrying about that $250 write-off, correct?
That's right. One of the things what the Democrats have focused on is they cherry pick one or two deductions that are going away, and they don't look at what the total tax bill is going to be. That's the very important part is let's look at the bottom line, because at the end of the day, whether I can deduct 2 things or deduct 10 things, if my tax rates are lower and I pay less taxes, that's where the real value is.
Sure.
And particularly on the teachers, the current amount that they can deduct, you have to itemize to be able to deduct that. And, right now at the federal level, only 70% of taxpayers do not itemize. And so what we've done in this tax reform is we've doubled the standard deduction so that even fewer people will itemize. So that deduction would go away anyway if you're not itemized. And so that's going to be the big value, is that it simplifies taxes for a whole lot more people. I know I kind of took the postcard and actually did a thumbnail calculation of my 2016 state treasurer taxes, and actually showed that even though my taxable income was higher because of the change in deductions, my actual tax bill was going to be lower, over $1,000 lower, just because of the lower rates that everybody's going to see.
Wow. And I mean, you were the perfect person to write that editorial in the Wall Street Journal to talk about the difference between Kansas and the federal government. You being the state treasurer at that time when we have gone all through the difficulties and toughness that we have as a state, you were the one paying the bills for the state. So you were able to comment more so than anybody else on this, which is what I absolutely loved about it. And you're right, we're going to see more money about it. I find it comical, absolutely hysterical, like you mentioned, the fact that many teachers don't even claim that because they don't get to itemize since they don't make enough or they didn't deduct enough or whatever the case is. But they're all up in arms about a little minuscule piece of this and saying that Republicans are wanting to, again, hate on the poor and again hate on teachers. It's absurd.
Yeah, it really it's sad that the state of politics has come to stretching the truth and trying to imply one thing's true when it's really not. Now, there's just so many people that are going to get a reduction in their total tax bill, in spite of all this cherry picking of well, this deduction's going away, and won't that hurt people? And so we want to make sure that at the end of the day, the overwhelming majority of Americans are able to have lower taxes and be simpler. And help with that. Yeah.
Sure. Let's talk about the process. You guys voted on it in the House there. It's going to the Senate. Now, the Senate's working on their own bill, which means they may not necessarily vote on the bill that you guys passed. It almost reminds me of the Obamacare reform where you guys actually did something. You were productive in some degree, were able to pass something out of the House. The Senate wants to be on their high horse, doesn't even want to look at it because they have a little bit more of a narrow margin to pass anything. What's the next step? Is the Senate going to pass their bill and you guys get to see that? Is it going to be a blending of the two? What's going to happen next?
Yeah, it was kind of sad to watch the Obamacare process and basically everything fall apart. But I'm very much more optimistic that this is going to work this time. One of the things you saw during the Obamacare process that's not evident at all today is that it was such a much more divisive Democrat versus Republican breakdown because Obamacare was named after the last Democratic president. So, they really fought tooth and nail for that. Now, the difference here is that for literally for years, the House and Senate have been talking about tax reform. Some of the things in this tax reform package were things that were proposed by President Obama back when he was president. And so it's got a broader base of support. During this year in particular, people from President Trump's White House and from the House and the Senate, the top six folks involved in the tax reform have focused on let's develop a framework that works in the House and works for the Senate. And so the Senate's further along in terms of being of one mind to do tax reform than they were on a health care vote. So I'm pretty confident that we're going to be able to get some tax reform moving forward, much more so than on the health care. What I expect to happen is the Senate will probably will create a bill of their own and send it back to the House. Now, technically, all tax bills have to originate in the House. So what we'll do next in that process is have a conference committee, have members from the House, members from the Senate sit down and hash out those differences, as you said, and come up with a bill. And we're still pushing pretty hard to try to get this done by the end of the year so that President Trump can have it signed and it can take effect and people can see a positive change in their paycheck come January 1st.
So you're saying that this could, you're still positive and encouraging that we could see this by the end of the year. It's going to take effect January 1, and then we could see this effect when we file our taxes in April next year.
Well, you'll probably see it first in your paycheck.
Okay.
In terms of the withholding on your paycheck for the month of January. The tax return on April 15th really reflects 2017. So you won't see as much of a benefit in the April tax return for 2017, but you'll see every week or every 2 weeks, you'll see it in your paycheck coming from.
Well, hey, I can deal with that.
Yeah,
I can deal with that, especially with the fact that we got another tiered stair step of another tax increase here at the statewide level. So us here in Kansas, we're going to be enjoying, if you guys are able to do that, to be able to see a little bit of a lighter burden from the federal side.
Yep. And it's not a done deal yet. I mean, the Senate's got some work to do. They've got to probably by the end of that first week, right after Thanksgiving, if they can get their bill passed out, then that gives us time for a conference committee to get together and resolve the differences and come up with something that both chambers can vote for.
Boy, wouldn't that be nice? That'd be a way to go out for 2017, something positive like that. I'd really like to see that.
It would. It'd be a great way to get some. There's so many things that are teed up at the Senate and waiting to get accomplished, and this would be a good victory to have that accomplished.
It really would. Now, on the Senate side, the Senate's bill, I don't know how much you've been following that one and getting any details, but Rand Paul, I know the story was that he was trying to include on the budgetary side, trying to get rid of part of the individual mandate and trying to include a partial repeal of Obamacare in the budget. Is that something that if they do end up passing it, which it sounds like, of course, Susan Collins doesn't want to do, John McCain wouldn't want to do, but if it did somehow get through there, would that be something you could potentially see in the final bill from both sides that they would agree on in the end?
I think if it gets through the Senate, he could potentially be in the final bill. And what makes it very complicated around that is you start to blend in all of the angst around health care and tie that into the tax package. So I don't know if that's really going to go forward. As you mentioned, there are senators starting to say they don't want to do that, and of course there weren't enough votes in the Senate to do health care reform. So we wouldn't want to sink tax reform by
trying to do too much,
pulling in some of those negativities that people have about Obamacare.
Sure.
I mean, the problem is we need to repeal and replace Obamacare, and we've got to figure out ways to do that. That's something the House supported all along, and so people are just burdened. And the frustrating thing about Obamacare is it is the only program coming from a private business that the federal government mandates that every person in America has to buy. So it's sad. That's the only thing that you're mandated that you have to buy, or else you have penalties.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. We got about a minute left here. Congressman Ron Estes joining us here talking about the tax reform. But after this is done, hopefully, let's assume that we actually are able to get it through, that President Trump can sign it by the end of the year before December 31st. We can see it on our January 1 paychecks kind of thing and be able to move forward from there. Is there any agenda looking forward in the future after that? Is it going back to Obamacare repeal? Is there another agenda on the slate? Or right now, are you guys just kind of tunnel vision to make sure this gets done?
Well, we're really focusing on getting this through. That's been the primary driver. We do have some other things that are teed up that we also have to address. We need to talk about immigration and some of the problems that with our terribly complicated and ineffective immigration system. We've got to work on that. We've got to finalize the appropriations for 2018. They kicked the can down the road till December for the total year of 2018 budget. So we've got to finalize that. We'll also, at some point in time, if not in December, probably by March, have to talk about the debt ceiling, which is. It's one of those sad things that we talk about because it's really not the problem. It's a symptom of the problem. And the problem is we're spending more money than we're bringing in.
Right.
And that's where the problem is.
Well, it's a full agenda. I know you guys are extremely busy with it. Congressman Ron Estes, the 4th Congressional District. It's always a great honor to talk to you, my friend. You are doing such wonderful work. We love having you represent this district. We're so excited to see what's going to come of it. Happy Thanksgiving, by the way, to you and the family and everybody up there in Washington, D.C. I don't know how you guys do the swamp thing every day, but happy Thanksgiving to you guys. We love talking to you, and we'll get you back on the show again here real soon.
All right, great. Thank you. Have a happy Thanksgiving to you and all your listeners.
Hey, always a pleasure there. That's Congressman Ron Estes right there. Let's go ahead and take a break. Get your thoughts and calls when we come back. This is The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier on the Big Talker, KQAM.
Welcome back into the Voice of Reason. Thanks again to Congressman Ron Estes for joining the program. We always love chatting with him, especially after a big vote like was there yesterday. We got about a minute and a half before the bottom of the hour, but I want to take a phone call here, shall we? On a free-for-all Friday, what's on your mind? Good morning. What's your name?
Scott.
Hey, Scott. How are you, sir?
Well, as I was trying to say earlier in the week, I think it's a shame that you have people trying to protest, people trying to bring jobs, just like the Tyson company. I mean, those same people, they don't have any job to offer anybody, and yet they want to destroy somebody bringing job opportunity. I mean, that's trying to create crime in the community by people not having jobs. So, I mean, I don't know why anybody would even consider listening to somebody like that.
It's a good point. I don't know if you saw or not, but I believe, what was it? Clearwater. Clearwater had a city council meeting earlier this week, and 300 people showed up to protest the potential of the Tyson plant coming to that area because they don't want the environmental whatever, they don't want the smell. I don't know, whatever their protest was, but 300 people showed up to that city council meeting because they're so angry about it. But you're right. If they're so against it, then what do they have to bring as an alternative for job growth in the area?
Well, not only that, but I mean, we have had a history of meat packing plants in Wichita. I mean, we had Cuddy Hayes, we had Farmland, I think Farmland still here, Safeway. I mean, so it's not like they couldn't bring it to the Wichita area. I mean,
like it's a new thing. You're right. I love it. I agree. Scott, I hate to cut you off, my friend. Bottom of the hour news coming up here, but you're absolutely right. I totally agree. Have an alternative. Fine. If you don't like it, if you don't want it for the environmental reasons or the smell or whatever, what's the alternative? What do we bring here for the industry to bring people here to go to work and to boost our economy? That's a good question. More calls. Stay on the line. We'll get to you as soon as we come back. This is The Voice of Reason.
Are you a Hoosier-holic?
Yeah, baby! Yeah.
Call in now at 721-8255. The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Hey, let's do it. Welcome into The Voice of Reason. Wrapping up the show today on a Friday. It's a free-for-all Friday, which means the rest of the show is open to you. Whatever you want to talk about, you're more than welcome to do so. By the way, I have not forgotten, we still will do the turkey drop here probably before the end of this segment. We'll probably give away a Dave Ramsey book before the end of the show. If not, I got 3 copies left. We'll get to that first thing on Monday. So brought to you by U-Build of Wichita, by the way. Still got lots of those books. Get ready. It's going to be a great time. A lot of things happening here in the South Central Kansas area. The fastest growing radio show in the state of Kansas. This is The Voice of Reason, and welcome aboard with it. Let's go right to the phones here, shall we, for a free-for-all Friday. 721-8255-721-TALK. Good morning. What's your name?
It's Wallace.
Wallace, I'm doing great, sir. How are you?
Doing well. Hey, couple things. Well, actually, I got 4 things real quick.
Okay.
This whole tax issue thing. You know, I'll tell you, listening to the Senate and the House and the Democrats and Republicans, I feel my tax cut is going to end up a lot like the $2,500 in savings that Obama promised me on health care. I'm not inspired.
Yeah. Now, hold on. Are you not inspired by the bill itself, or you're not inspired that it's actually going to go through and be passed?
I don't think that this is going to be much to do about anything.
Okay.
We've got one half of one version that's just a initial version. The Senate will do their thing.
Sure.
They may spit something out, and then they're going to argue about what should be in both of them. And we have no clue what the final thing is going to look like. Now, on the flip side, you remember the Citizens United case that said corporations are people?
Yes.
Well, then wouldn't the inverse be true, that people are corporations, and I want my 20% tax rate?
Well, that's very true. And the good news is that they still have kept the consolidation down to 3 brackets, which is good news. So, I mean, you're right. The lower tax rate is desperately needed. And if we're able to do that, then I see that as a huge success. Now, what comes out of the Senate, I think, is not going to be substantial. Like you mentioned, the Senate's not going to get the same as what the House is going to get. But then they're going to do the joint committee to be able to hash it out, to be able to be happy on both sides. And I think, and I'm hoping that right now, in this position right now, the House is going to have a little more say and influence because theirs may be a little more impactful. I think that they're going to have a wider margin to be able to pass it. So therefore, they're going to be the ones that have a little more push when they jointly discuss and sit down and say, look, this is what needs to be in here. We want a substantial tax reform. That's what we said we're going to do. And by the way, our midterms as a House member, our midterm elections are coming up next year. So what we pass as a House is a little more important than what the Senate does right now. So you guys need to kind of get on board with what we're doing. I'm hoping that's the political game that could be played right now in order to do something a little more substantial than what we're, like you mentioned, that it might be watered down to where we're just trying to hope the Senate does something.
True. Now, the last two things real quick. Roy Moore, I haven't called in all week on this. And I'm not defending. If he did it, he doesn't deserve to sit in the Senate.
Sure.
However, we don't know. But here's what I do know. What I think is inherently dangerous is this call by McConnell to sit here and say, we're going to expel him. We're going to kick him out. Because here's the history of the Senate. Ted Kennedy killed a woman. They didn't expel him. Robert Byrd was a Klansman and a recruiter for the Klan.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't expel him. Menendez was indicted on serious charges. Now, they got a hung jury, which isn't an acquittal. It's just a hung jury.
Sure.
And there was no talk of expelling him. And now we got, Al Franken, the gropester, admitting to what he did. And there's no call to expel him.
But Roy Moore, the allegedness without even any evidence of it, well, you know what? We don't want that kind of person in. You really need to back out. And that's coming from, again, Mitch McConnell and the Republicans.
Yeah, at 40 years ago, look, if he did it, own up to it and be a man about it. But he hasn't done. Bill Clinton, I never had sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. Now granted, he ultimately got, what was it, a censure? I think they impeached him, but he got censured.
Sure.
But what about all the women, Juanita Broderick? The difference is because I had this discussion with somebody, and I said, look, the difference between the accusers of Bill Clinton and the accusers of Roy Moore is Bill Clinton lied about an affair.
Right.
They got the DNA on the dress. He was proven to be a liar, which really affects his credibility for the other accusers.
Which, by the way, lying under oath like that means that's why it was. Look, when they impeached him, it wasn't because of the act that he did. It was because of lying under oath, which you're not supposed to do as president. So that's the whole reason why he was impeached, why he got in trouble. It wasn't because of the initial act in the first place.
Exactly. And then my last thing on this Free for All Friday is Tyson Foods. I'll tell you why. I know they were talking about a Tyson food plant up in north central Kansas, in the county north of where I'm at. And I'll tell you why. I've been to Garden City. I've been to Dodge City. These are not high-paying jobs. These are jobs that are, I'll tell you, less than legal. People of less than legal status hold many of those jobs, and the amount of crime just goes up.
Well, and that's definitely something to consider. Well, I'm sure that's definitely something to consider, and that's about probably the most reasonable argument that I have heard against it, instead of the whole environmental aspect to that. Wallace, I appreciate it, my friend. I want to get to another call here, but some great points, and I love the opinion. I do want to play here talking about, by the way, the Roy Moore issue. I don't know if you heard that the chief strategist for the campaign came out, made a comment yesterday, and went after pretty hardly Mitch McConnell because of the fact that, look at the individuals that have been in the Senate, that have been in Congress before, that you have not called for their resignation. Al Franken just came out and had this accusation, and if you're that much of a purist about not wanting that type of person, quote unquote, if the allegations are true, then why have you not come out the same way that Roy Moore, as soon as the allegations came out, Mitch McConnell advocated for him to step out of the race. Why haven't you asked for the resignation of Al Franken? This is what he had to say.
Look what happened. As soon as the Washington Post came out with their story, what did Mitch McConnell do? At 12 hours, maybe 24 hours? Mitch McConnell's over there making up all this. We have to step down immediately. If it's true, I don't even know if it was true on Mitch's. So that's obvious that they had this collusion going on. Did he say that today about Al Franken, by the way? Did Mitch McConnell, has he already denounced Al Franken and said you got to go? Has he said that? I think Al Franken somebody said today about Al Franken. Is that correct? Oh, it's an investigation. Oh, well, there you go. According to Mitch, he's disqualified immediately. Isn't that right?
See, there you go. I think they hit hard yesterday. I think that was a bold statement that they made. I think it was a great thing that they needed to do. And my prediction, just my lonely little petty prediction for Alabama's Senate race, I think that Roy Moore is going to win that seat. I'm just saying, I could be totally off on that one, but I give it a 5-point margin. I think Roy Moore is going to win that one. Let's go back to the phones here, shall we? 721-825-5721. Talk. Good morning. What's your name?
Hey, morning.
What's going on, Sean?
Michael show with, wait a minute. Is this Andy Hoosier?
Yeah, allegedly, sometimes.
Oh, Andy, I'm so sorry, man. This is embarrassing. My engineer.
Were you trying to call in the Rush Limbaugh update again here? What is this?
No, this is my show. My engineer's got the circuits crossed again.
Oh, that's right. Your phone came into me. I was trying to call your show. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hang on just a second. My engineer, he's had the flu.
Now I see.
So let me just check on him and make sure he's okay. All right. Just
all
hang
right.
on. Just
okay.
Won't take a second.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hey, Lucille. Hey, you go tell that damn Billy Bob he's fired. You got that? No, I don't care if Thanksgiving's coming up and he's a widower trying to raise 4 kids.
Hey, you got to have the sob story. You got to do this.
Plus, he's got a crop in the field, too. Just do like I asked, or find a pink slip in your stocking this year. You understand?
Pink slip? Hold on. Did they even use pink slips anymore here? As far as I'm aware, they don't do that any longer.
Oh, I forgot to hit the cough button. I'm sorry you heard that. Hey, that's just a little in-studio humor. Hey, I get turkeys for my employees every year. Make sure you get the extra large one for Billy Bob Lucille. He's trying to raise 4 kids. Poor guy. Anyway, it's Open Line Friday on my show. What's on your mind, Andy?
That's right. Well, I really need to talk about the fact that there are environmentalists wanting to take away my turkey on Thanksgiving. It's a terrible ordeal. What do I do about this, Sean?
Yeah, you just ignore them. As a matter of fact, you pay a visit to their house and shove some turkey down their throat. I'm really tired of these people, man.
You wrap it up in a tortilla and you make it beautiful to them, smother it in gravy, and it's a great thing. Sean, I love it, my friend. It's always a great time. I want to get to some more phone calls here before we run out of time, but happy Thanksgiving to you. I'm sure we'll talk to you before that, but have a wonderful weekend and a happy Friday. 721-8255. See, there it is, the segment with Sean. I like that. Segment with Sean on The Voice of Reason each day here. Let's go back to the phone, shall we? Good morning. What's your name?
Good morning, Andy. This is Eddie.
Eddie, how are you, my friend?
Fine. I'd just like to briefly comment about this Garden City Muslim basketball player.
Yes, that's right.
When they were playing the national anthem and Pledge of Allegiance, that he just went out in midcourt and started shooting baskets and had a big smile on his face, kind of smirking at the national anthem. And the coach relieved him of his position, dismissed him. And now the AAACP, ALOU, or whatever the hell it is, they say that that's discrimination. I mean, who do these people think they are? Hell, if they don't like our country, get out of here. We don't want you. Just go back and ride your camels and do whatever you do over there. I don't give a damn.
Oh, you're right. It's a story that actually I teased it when it first happened. You're right, and I'm glad you brought it up because I haven't had a chance to talk about it. But you're right. It happened close to a month ago when he was shooting baskets during the national anthem. The rest of the team was in the locker room. He came out, started shooting hoops, and actually he got confronted by a fan who's a donor to Garden City Community College and a financial supporter. Was at the game, went down onto the court and confronted him. And he's been suspended, and now the coach officially let him go. And yet, you're right. Now the ACLU is trying to say that it's a violation of his freedom of speech, which, just like the kneeling of the national anthem in the NFL, it's not the government coming down on you. It's the university that you signed a contract with that you're participating with, and you're representing them wearing that uniform. Therefore, they have the right to do whatever they want to with you. And it's not a violation of your religion. It's not a violation of freedom of speech. It's just the fact that you're not representing the university the way that they want you to.
Right, and there's some other things going on, like this one school, like at the Air Force Academy. This black guy out there, he went and wrote some horrible stuff on some other black cadets' lockers and blamed it on the white racists. Turned out he did it. And there's another, I think this is a Muslim guy in New York City, claimed he was harassed on a train. It turned out there wasn't anything. And so even here in Wichita, you see, I think with the Muslims there at the quick shop, they said one thing, turned out their video was another thing. What are we going to do with all these people that just feel sorry for themselves or just want to cause trouble and lie and do everything else?
That's a good question. The only thing I can think of is we need to teach people to step away from the identity politics, not to play the victim. And I don't know whether you force it down their throat, whether you try and do the tough love, whether you show them and lead by example to where, hey, you know what? I mean, we have a lot of listeners who are of minority descent who don't want to go down that road, who don't like that. They don't want to play the identity politics. They don't want to be lumped in as a groupthink mentality. They don't want any of that, and they succeeded. They've done very well in life, and we need to have examples like that of, hey, you don't have to play the victim. You don't have to say that just because you're a skin color or a gender identification or a sexual orientation that all of a sudden the world's against you and the system is against you. It's a bunch of baloney and a malarkey, and it's not going to happen, and we need to lead by example. That's really all we can do. But now we have, I don't know if you saw, now the story was a high school where they had the conservatives, the young Republicans being a meeting there. They got suspended while they defended the students that wanted to lay down on the court during the pep rally, that wanted to sit there and listen to their phone or text or whatever during the national anthem and not even recognize it because they tweeted out saying that they hate the country and they despise the American flag. And oh, by the way, during Veterans Day, during the pep rally, that they cannot support murderers because you're part of the military and you killed people and therefore you're a mass murderer. So that's the mentality that a lot of people have. How you fix that? You have to educate them properly and lead by example. That's the only thing I know how to do. We got just a couple minutes here. It's time for you to call right now. 721-8255-721-TALK. We got to do this before we end the show today, but it's time for the KGSO KQAM turkey drop, and your opportunity to get yourself a very nice Thanksgiving turkey bird for next week is right here. We got 3 of them left, so let's go ahead and go to the phones. I got 3 options for you. By the way, all 3 of these are the last 3 businesses that have not had a turkey land on them yet, which means you got a pretty good chance, and 1 in 3 opportunities. So let's go right to the phones here, shall we? Good morning. What's your name? Oh, I guess we lost him there. Let's go to the next one here, 721-8255. Good morning. What's your name?
Hey, my name's Craig.
Greg, how are you, sir?
Great.
Hey, very good. All right, here's your options, my friend. You have Kiter Nursery and Firewood, Davis Liquor Outlet, or Derby Mattress. Today, Craig, which one do you think the turkey's going to drop on for the turkey drop?
Derby Mattress.
Derby Mattress. Oh, and that one's a new one, I think, that's we haven't talked about a whole lot. Let's check in with the helicopter, with the drone. Is it going to happen today? The turkey flying something. What's coming out of the sky today? Is it going to be Derby Mattress? Hey, right off the bat, my friend. I love it. Well done, Craig. Hang on the line here. We'll get you information in a second. You won yourself a Thanksgiving turkey bird. We got to thank all of our wonderful sponsors here: Augusta Flight Center, Just Right Auto Repair, Best Friends Pet Clinic, MJ's Truck Repair of Moundridge, Croft Lumber of Heston, Kennedy Tire and Auto Care Center, Kiter Nursery, and Firewood, one of the few that has not gotten dropped on yet. Just letting you know. Davis Liquor Outlet, the other one that has not gotten dropped on yet. So Monday, I'm going to give you 3 options. Remember, those are the only 2 that really haven't had it dropped on: Kiter Nursery and Davis Liquor Outlet. Scott Child's Old Time Clock Shop, Spears Restaurant and Pie Shop, and of course Derby Mattress that just got it today. All the turkeys, by the way, provided by Jim's Apple Market of Cheney. They're open 7 days a week. We love them and appreciate them providing us the turkeys. Got to take a break. Wrapping up the show today. When we come back, this is The Voice of Reason. Stay here.
This is The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier on the Big Talker KQAM.
Welcome back in, wrapping up the show today. It's a Friday. It's a free-for-all Friday. We appreciate you hanging out with us today. It's been a lot of fun. I love all the phone calls, all the conversations. It's a great time. I want to hear what's on your mind, the priorities you have, what you're thinking, because sometimes I'm just totally off base. I do want to check in, though, as you wrap up and start thinking about the weekend to end today. I got to make you hungry, and that's what Inman Harvest Cafe does, 112 South Main Street in Inman, Kansas, just north of Hutchinson there. They have not just a Fried Chicken Friday, which is always big in itself, but today is their Thanksgiving Fried Chicken Friday. Katie, when we talked to you earlier this morning, you guys getting everything all prepared. Hundreds of pounds of potatoes all across the board, mashed potatoes, cheesy potatoes, sweet potatoes. It's a beautiful thing. How's it looking right now?
It's rocking and rolling. Happy Fried Chicken Turkey Day. We're like neck deep in potatoes back there.
I love it. I love it.
Like if we filled a swimming pool with potatoes, that would be fun.
You know, that has been a lifelong dream of mine, is to jump into a swimming pool either full of mashed potatoes or spaghetti, and I could just sit there and munch on it. It'd be a fantastic thing.
Yeah. That That sounds actually really great.
Yeah. Come on, everybody's got that deep down hidden pleasure right there.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody just said, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you guys have today, as you mentioned, the Thanksgiving Friday, the Thanksgiving fried chicken Friday. You have the fried chicken, you have the turkey, you have like 4 kinds of potatoes. You have great stuff going on. What's on the lineup today for both buffets?
So today, both buffets are going to be the same. We're going to have, of course, the amazing, juicy, crispy, wonderful fried chicken like we have every Friday. We're also going to have turkey. My husband makes the best turkey in the world.
I love it.
And we're going to serve it to you all day today. So we're having that. We're having mashed potatoes, sweet potatoes, cheesy potatoes, lots of potatoes. Then we're having creamy corn, green bean casserole, and earlier when I talked to you, I forgot to mention that we are also having, dressing, because you can't, it just goes with the whole meal. And our dressing is 100% homemade, right from the bread up, from the foundation up. It's from scratch, homemade dressing. So we've actually been working on the dressing for like 2 months, because you got to bake the bread and then cube the bread and then dry the bread and then, then by today it's ready to be mixed with the broth and the butter and the onions and the celery and the sage, and it's just
it's a beautiful thing right there. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Now, as you mentioned, you have the buffet from 11 to 1 for lunch. You have the big buffet from 5 to 8 o'clock tonight, so that way everybody can enjoy all of this stuff pretty much all day long.
Yes, and the evening buffet will come with pie. We're super excited about the coconut pie, pumpkin, apple, custard, pecan, and bumbleberry. Your evening buffet will also come with your drink, so that's really your best value. And I just want to I want to slow down a little bit here for just a second and remind people that the point of Thanksgiving is to give thanks to God for all our many blessings, and we have been so blessed at Inman Harvest Cafe this year. So I want to thank all our great customers, and especially the ones that come all the way from Wichita or Newton or Park City. We've had an excellent showing of people come down, and so Nick also wanted me to say that the wheelbarrow and the cot rental are extra. We charge extra for the wheelbarrow rental. Roll you right out the door.
Roll you right out there. That is going to be an extra charge at the end there. I love it. We got about 20 seconds left here. Inman Harvest Cafe, 112 South Main Street. It's Fried Chicken Friday. It is the Thanksgiving Turkey Fried Chicken Friday. Katie, you guys have so much fun today. It's going to be a blast. We're going to get an update from you next Friday, and once you guys have finally recovered from all the shenanigans up there.
Thanks, Andy. We'll talk to you later.
Oh, it's always a great time. We love it. Katie with the Inman Harvest Cafe, 112 South Main Street, 620-585-6925. That's Inman Harvest Cafe. Everybody have a great weekend. We'll be back on Monday right here on The Voice of Reason.